In Kennel 47 at Riverside County Animal Shelter, a dog named Atlas had stopped hoping. After 873 days and 47 rejections, he'd learned that hope was the cruelest thing of all. The fluorescent lights hummed their monotonous song as another family walked past Kennel 47. Atlas didn't even lift his head anymore. He'd learned this routine by heart. The excited voices of children, the squeak of sneakers on polished concrete, the inevitable pause at the puppy section, where 8-week-old golden retrievers tumbled over each other like living sunshine. Then the paperwork, the happy tears, the empty kennel next to his, always next to his. Atlas was 4 years old, ancient by shelter standards. His coat, once a lustrous mix of German Shepherd Brown and Husky Silver, had dulled to the color of old pennies. A scar ran along his left shoulder, a souvenir from his previous life that nobody bothered to ask about anymore. His eyes, amber and intelligent, held something that made people uncomfortable: awareness. He knew he'd been abandoned. He knew he was running out of time. Morning, big guy. Sarah, the senior shelter coordinator, stopped at his kennel with her clipboard. She'd been there the day Atlas arrived, surrendered by a family moving to an apartment that didn't allow large, aggressive breeds. The dog wasn't aggressive. He was loyal. But loyalty looks like aggression when you're protecting a home you're about to lose. Atlas approached the front of his kennel, his tail offering a tentative wag. Sarah was one of the good ones. She slipped him a piece of dried sweet potato through the bars. "Today is the day," she whispered, though her eyes betrayed her doubt. "I can feel it." She'd said that 47 times before. The shelter opened at 10. By 10:15, the weekend crowd had arrived. The usual mix of well-meaning families, young couples, and the occasional single person looking for companionship. Atlas watched them flow past like a river around a stone. Kennel 12, a beagle mix named Buttons, here for 3 weeks. Adopted by 10:47. Kennel 23, a senior terrier named Pickles, here for 6 months. Adopted by 11:15. Kennel 31, a 3-legged pit bull named Chance, here for 4 months. Adopted by 12:03. Atlas counted them all. Each departure was a small death, a reminder that he possessed some invisible flaw that everyone could see but him. What about that one? A woman's voice cut through his thoughts. She stood in front of his kennel, her daughter clutching her hand. The girl couldn't have been more than 6, with pigtails and light-up sneakers. Atlas's heart betrayed him with hope. He stood, approached the bars, lowered his head in the submissive posture he perfected. "Oh, honey, he's too big," the mother said, already pulling her daughter away. "And look, he's got scars. We need something gentle for your brother." "But Mommy, his eyes are sad." "Come on, sweetie, let's look at the smaller dogs." Rejection number 48. Atlas returned to the back of his kennel, to the worn blanket that smelled like 1,000 dogs before him. He circled 3 times, an ancient ritual that no longer brought comfort, and collapsed with a sigh that seemed to come from his bones. Through the concrete walls, he could hear the sounds of the shelter, barking, meowing, the occasional cry of a bird in the exotic section. But beneath it all was a silence that only Atlas seemed to hear, the silence of time running out. Riverside County Animal Shelter had a policy. They didn't like to talk about it, but everyone knew. After a certain point, when kennels filled up and resources stretched thin, decisions had to be made. The young and adoptable stayed. The old, the scarred, the ones who'd been there too long. Sarah never said out loud, but Atlas saw it in her eyes every morning. The way she lingered at his kennel a little longer, the extra treats, the gentle words. She was saying goodbye in installments. At 2:30 p.m., a teenage boy stopped at Kennel 47. He had headphones around his neck and the confident swagger of someone who'd never been rejected by anything. "This one looks tough," he told his father. "I want him." Atlas's ears perked up. He stood, approached cautiously. The father studied Atlas with the calculating gaze of someone pricing furniture. "How much?" "The adoption fee is $150. Sarah appeared, her voice carefully neutral. "That includes vaccinations, microchipping, and—" "What's wrong with him?" the father interrupted. "Dogs don't stay here this long unless something's wrong." Sarah's jaw tightened. Nothing is wrong with him. Atlas is intelligent, loyal, and... Atlas? The teenager laughed. That's a stupid name. I'd call him Killer or something cool. He's not a killer, Sarah said quietly. He's a companion animal who deserves. Whatever. Come on, Dad. I want the husky in Kennel 15. This one's too old anyway. Rejection number 49. As the afternoon bled into evening, the shelter emptied. Families left with new family members. Volunteers finished their shifts. The lights dimmed to night mode, just bright enough to prevent total darkness, just dim enough to remind everyone that this was not a home. Atlas lay on his blanket, his head resting on his paws. Through the small window high on the wall, he could see a slice of sky turning purple. Somewhere out there, dogs slept on soft couches. They ate from ceramic bowls. They heard their names spoken with love. Atlas had a name, but nobody used it anymore. He was that 1 in 47, or the shepherd mix, or the one that's been here forever. In the office, Sarah sat at her desk, staring at a form she'd been avoiding for weeks. The header read, Behavioral Assessment Review. Atlas wasn't aggressive. He wasn't sick, but the shelter was at 140% capacity. The county was cutting funding, and a dog who'd been rejected 49 times was, in the cold mathematics of shelter management, taking up space that could save 3 smaller, more adoptable dogs. She hadn't filled it out yet, but the blank form sat there like a countdown timer. In Kennel 47, Atlas closed his eyes. He didn't dream of his old home anymore. That family had become strangers in his memory. He didn't dream of running through fields or chasing tennis balls. He dreamed of nothing at all, because after 873 days and 49 rejections, Atlas had learned the hardest lesson. Sometimes nobody comes. Sometimes you're just forgotten. Garrett Webb hadn't slept through the night in 4 years, 3 months, and 17 days. But it wasn't the nightmares that were killing him. It was a silence afterward when he woke up alone. The prescription bottles lined the bathroom counter like soldiers at attention. Sertraline, Prozicine, Trazodone, Clonazepam. Garrett stared at them in the pre-dawn darkness, his hands shaking as he reached for a glass of water. 42 years old, decorated veteran, 2 tours overseas, and he couldn't even open a bottle of pills without his hands trembling. Garrett, his wife's voice drifted through the bedroom door. Ex-wife, technically. The papers were signed 3 weeks ago, though she'd moved out 6 months before that. Are you okay? He wasn't okay. He hadn't been okay since the day his convoy hit that roadside device and the world exploded into fire and screaming. But you don't say that to someone who's already given up on you. Fine, he called back. Just getting ready for my appointment. Dr. Patricia Chen's office smelled like lavender and old books. The kind of place designed to make broken people feel safe enough to admit they were broken. Garrett sat in the chair he'd occupied every Thursday for 18 months, his jaw tight, his eyes fixed on a spot just past the therapist's left shoulder. You missed our last 2 sessions, Dr. Chen said gently. I was busy. Garrett. She leaned forward, her expression patient but firm. Jennifer called me. She's worried. Your daughter hasn't heard from you in 3 weeks. The mention of Emma hit, like a physical blow. 12 years old. Blonde hair like her mother. Eyes that used to light up when he came home. Now those same eyes held something else. Fear. Not of him, exactly. Fear of what he'd become. I don't want her to see me like this, Garrett said quietly. Like what? Like someone who can't even go to the grocery store without having a panic attack in the cereal aisle. Dr. Chin was quiet for a moment. Then she did something she'd never done before. She closed her notebook. I'm going to suggest something unconventional, she said. And I need you to hear me out before you say no. Garrett finally met her eyes. What? I want you to adopt a dog. He almost laughed. A dog. Not just any dog. A shelter dog. One that needs you as much as you need it. She pulled out her phone, scrolled through something. There's a veteran volunteer program at Riverside County Animal Shelter. You'd spend time with dogs that have been there too long. The ones nobody wants. The forgotten ones. I can barely take care of myself. That's exactly why this might work. Dr. Chen's voice was firm now. You're so focused on what you've lost that you've forgotten what you can still give. These dogs, they don't care about your medals or your mistakes. They don't judge the shaking hands or the nightmares. They just need someone to show up. Garrett stared at his hands. The tremor was worse today. What if I fail? What if I can't? Then you'll have failed trying, Dr. Chen interrupted, which is better than what you're doing now. The words hung in the air between them. That night, Garrett sat in his apartment, a one-bedroom place that smelled like takeout containers and regret. His phone sat on the coffee table, Dr. Chen's email glowing on the screen. Riverside County Animal Shelter Veteran Volunteer Program. He thought about Emma, about the way she used to beg for a puppy every Christmas, about Jennifer's final words before she left. I can't watch you disappear anymore. He thought about the silence, the endless, suffocating silence of a life that had stopped moving forward. At 11:47 p.m., Garrett clicked the link. The shelter's website was basic. Photos of dog with hopeful eyes and descriptions written by people who still believed in second chances. He scrolled past puppies and purebreds, past the dogs with cute names and heartwarming backstories. Then he saw Kennel 47. The photo was terrible, harsh lighting, chain-link shadows across a dog's face. But the eyes, those amber eyes held something Garrett recognized immediately, the look of someone who'd stopped expecting rescue. The description was brief. Atlas, for years old, German Shepherd/Husky mix, at shelter 873 days. Gentle, intelligent, house-trained, overlooked due to age and long shelter stay. Garrett stared at that number, 873 days, almost as long as he'd been trying to put himself back together. He closed his laptop, turned off the lights, lay in bed staring at the ceiling, waiting for sleep that wouldn't come. But for the first time in 4 years, 3 months, and 17 days, Garrett Webb was thinking about tomorrow. The Riverside County Animal Shelter smelled like disinfectant and broken promises. Garrett Webb stood in the parking lot for 20 minutes before he could force himself through the door. The volunteer coordinator was a woman in her 60s named Ruth, with kind eyes and hands that moved like she spent a lifetime calming frightened things. First time, she asked, though it wasn't really a question. Garrett nodded. His throat felt tight. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, and somewhere in the back, dogs were barking, a chorus of desperation that made his chest constrict. You're here for the veteran program? Ruth pulled out a clipboard, but her eyes stayed on his face. Reading him, Dr. Chen called ahead, said you might be interested in meeting some of our long-term residents. I don't know what I'm doing here, Garrett admitted. Neither do they. Ruth smiled softly. That's why it works. She led him through a door marked Kennels, authorized personnel only, and the sound hit him like a wave. Barking, whining, the metallic clang of chain link and concrete. His hands started shaking. The tremor he couldn't control, the one that had cost him his job at the construction site, the one that made Emma flinch when he tried to help her with homework. Breathe, Ruth said quietly. They can smell fear, but they don't judge it. They've all got their own. They walked past kennels filled with pit bulls and terriers, beagles and mutts of every description. Some lunged at the fence, desperate for attention. Others cowered in the back, too broken to hope anymore. Garrett recognized that look. Here, Ruth said, stopping at Kennel 47. The dog was lying in the far corner, his back to the door. Large, maybe 70 pounds. Dark fur with lighter markings. The German Shepherd/Husky mix the website had mentioned. He didn't turn around when they approached. Didn't acknowledge their presence at all. Atlas, Ruth said softly. We've got a visitor. Nothing. The dog's ears didn't even twitch. He's been here almost 3 years, Ruth continued, her voice dropping. Came in as a stray. Someone found him wandering Highway 91, half-starved, covered in scars. We think he was abandoned by someone who moved and just left him behind. Garrett stared at the motionless form. Why hasn't anyone adopted him? He's not a puppy. He's not a purebred. And he's... Ruth paused, choosing her words carefully. He's given up. People come here looking for dogs that are excited, energetic, grateful. Atlas just exists. He eats. He sleeps. He goes through the motions. But there's nothing behind the eyes anymore. Something in Garrett's chest cracked open. "Can I go in?" Ruth studied him for a long moment. Then she unlocked the gate. "Take your time. Don't force anything. Just be present." The kennel smelled like kibble and loneliness. Garrett stepped inside, and the gate clanged shut behind him. Atlas still didn't move. Garrett lowered himself to the concrete floor, his back against the chain link, about 6 feet from the dog. His therapist's voice echoed in his head. "Don't force connection. Just show up." For 5 minutes, neither of them moved. Then Garrett started talking. "I don't know what I'm doing here," he said quietly. "My therapist thinks you can fix me. Or maybe I can fix you. I don't know." He laughed, a bitter sound. "I can't even fix a leaky faucet without my hands shaking so bad I dropped the wrench." Atlas's ear twitched, just slightly. "I had a daughter," Garrett continued. "Have a daughter. Emma. She's 12. Smart as hell. Wants to be a marine biologist." His voice cracked. "She used to think I was a hero. Now she's afraid to be alone with me because I had a panic attack at her soccer game and scared the shit out of her." The dog's breathing changed. Slower, deeper. "My wife left. Ex-wife. Jennifer. She tried. God, she tried for so long. But you can't love someone back together when they don't want to be put back together." Garrett wiped his eyes roughly. "And the fucked up part is, I don't even blame her. I wouldn't want to be around me either." Atlas lifted his head. Just an inch. But it was movement. "I wake up every morning and take 6 different pills just to function like a normal human being. And most days, they don't even work. Most days, I sit in my apartment and think about all the ways I failed everyone who ever believed in me." The dog turned his head. Those amber eyes, the ones in the photo, locked onto Garrett's face. They stared at each other across 6 feet of concrete and 3 years of accumulated pain. "You know what the worst part is?" Garrett whispered. "I'm so fucking tired of being broken, but I don't remember how to be anything else." Atlas stood up, slowly, like his joints hurt, like movement itself was an act of courage. He walked across the kennel, not quickly, not eagerly, but deliberately, and sat down 3 feet from Garrett, close enough to matter, far enough to maintain dignity. They sat like that for 20 minutes. 2 broken things in a fluorescent-lit kennel, neither one knowing how to ask for help, neither one knowing how to offer it. Finally, Garrett extended his shaking hand. Palm up, an offering, not a demand. Atlas looked at the hand, at Garrett's face, at the hand again. Then he leaned forward and pressed his nose into Garrett's palm. The touch was warm, solid, real. Garrett's breath hitched, his vision blurred. And for the first time in 4 years, 3 months, and 17 days, he cried. Not from nightmares or loss or the crushing weight of everything he'd become, but from something else entirely. Hope. When Ruth opened the gate 30 minutes later, she found them sitting side by side, Garrett's hand resting on Atlas's head, both of them staring at nothing and everything. "So," she said gently, "same time next week?" Garrett looked at Atlas. Atlas looked back. "Tomorrow," Garrett said. "I'll come back tomorrow." Garrett Webb had survived firefights, explosions, and the slow death of his marriage. But nothing terrified him more than the thought of failing the one soul who still believed he was worth showing up for. Day 6. Garrett arrived at the shelter with a notebook and a plan that felt more like desperation than strategy. Atlas was waiting at the gate, not pacing, not lying down, just waiting, like he'd learned that Garrett's footsteps meant something now. "Hey, buddy." Garrett's voice cracked as he entered the kennel. Atlas immediately pressed against his legs, and Garrett dropped to his knees, burying his face in the dog's fur. "I'm going to get you out of here. I promise." Atlas's tail wagged, slow, uncertain, like he'd forgotten how. Garrett pulled back, looking into those amber eyes. "But I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" The dog leaned forward and licked Garrett's face, once gentle, deliberate. It was the first time Atlas had initiated affection. Garrett's vision blurred. He wrapped his arms around the dog's neck, and held on like Atlas was the only thing keeping him from drowning. Because he was. Day 8. Garrett sat on the kennel floor, his laptop balanced on his knees, filling out job applications while Atlas's head rested in his lap. Warehouse position, Garrett muttered, scrolling through listings. Says they're veteran-friendly. That's code for we'll hire you but pay you shit. He glanced down at Atlas. Sorry. Language. Atlas's tail thumped once against the concrete. Forklift operator. I can do that. Hands don't shake as much when I'm focused on something. He clicked submit, then moved to the next listing. Night shift security. Overnight stock clerk. Anything. I'll take anything. His phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Mom says you're trying to adopt a dog? Garrett stared at the screen, his thumb hovering over the keyboard. Atlas lifted his head, watching him with those impossibly knowing eyes, and Garrett typed. Yeah, his name is Atlas. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Can I meet him? Garrett's breath caught. He looked at Atlas, whose gaze hadn't wavered. Steady, patient, believing. Yeah, sweetheart. I like that. Day 10. Emma came on Saturday morning, her hand gripping Jennifer's tightly as they walked through the shelter doors. Garrett met them in the lobby, his heart hammering. Emma looked taller than he remembered. Her blonde hair was in a ponytail, and she wore the soccer jersey he'd bought her before everything fell apart. Hi, Dad, she said quietly. Hi, baby. He wanted to hug her, but wasn't sure if he was allowed anymore. Emma made a decision for him, stepping forward and wrapping her arms around his waist. Garrett closed his eyes and held his daughter like she was made of glass. He's in the back, Garrett said when they finally pulled apart. You ready? Emma nodded. Atlas was lying down when they approached Kennel 47, but his head lifted the moment he saw Garrett. Then his gaze shifted to Emma, and something changed in his expression. A softness, a recognition of something innocent and worth protecting. Can I go in? Emma whispered. Ruth unlocked the gate, and Emma stepped inside slowly, carefully, like she was approaching something sacred. Hey, Atlas, she said softly, kneeling down. I'm Emma. I'm Garrett's daughter. Atlas stood, walked to her, and gently pressed his nose against her outstretched hand. Emma's face lit up with a smile that Garrett hadn't seen in years. He's beautiful, Dad. Yeah, Garrett said, his voice thick. He is. Emma sat down and Atlas lay beside her, his head in her lap. She stroked his fur with the kind of tenderness only children possess, the kind that hasn't learned to be afraid of loving broken things. Mom says you're trying to adopt him, Emma said, looking up at Garrett. I am. But you don't have a place that allows dogs yet. I'm working on it. Emma was quiet for a moment, her fingers threading through Atlas's fur. He needs you, Dad. I know. No. Emma's voice was firm now, older than her 12 years. I mean, he really needs you. Like how I need you. Like how we've all needed you. But you were too lost to see it. The words hit like shrapnel. Emma. Jennifer started, but Emma shook her head. It's okay, Mom. She looked back at Garrett, tears shining in her eyes. I was scared of you for a while, when you get all shaky and weird and couldn't breathe. But I wasn't scared of you. I was scared for you, because I didn't know how to help. Garrett's knees buckled. He sank to the floor, and Atlas immediately moved from Emma to him, pressing his solid weight against Garrett's chest. But Atlas helps you, doesn't he? Emma continued. I can see it. You're different right now. You're here. He does help me, Garrett whispered. He helps me remember what it feels like to be needed, to have a reason to show up. Emma crawled over and sat beside him, her head on his shoulder, Atlas between them like a bridge connecting two broken pieces. Then you have to save him, Dad, she said, because he's already saving you. Day 14. Halfway through the 3 weeks, Garrett got the call while sitting in Kennel 47. A warehouse job, day shift, decent pay, veteran-owned company. They wanted him to start Monday. I got it, he told Atlas, his hand shaking with something other than trauma for the first time in years. I got the job, buddy. That's step 1. Atlas's tail wagged, stronger now, more confident. Now I just need to find an apartment that'll take both of us. Garrett pulled out his phone, scrolling through rental listings, and come up with $300 for the adoption fee, first month's rent, deposit. The numbers swam before his eyes. Impossible. All of it impossible. Atlas nudged his hand with his nose. Garrett looked down at the dog who become his anchor, his reason, his proof that broken things could still matter. "I'm not giving up," he said firmly. "You can give up on me. I'm not giving up on you." Day 17. Garrett found an apartment, a tiny one-bedroom on the edge of town, that allowed large dogs for an extra deposit. He'd need $2,000 total to move in. He had $437 in his bank account. That night, he sat in Kennel 47 with his head in his hands, Atlas pressed against his side. "I don't know how to do this," Garrett admitted. "I'm trying so hard, but the math doesn't work, and we're running out of time." Atlas shifted, placing his paw on Garrett's knee. Garrett looked at the paw, then at the dog's face. Those amber eyes held something he'd never seen before, absolute, unwavering trust. "You believe in me," Garrett whispered, "even when I don't believe in myself." Atlas leaned forward and rested his forehead against Garrett's chest, right over his heart. And Garrett understood. This wasn't about having all the answers. It wasn't about being fixed or whole or perfect. It was about showing up, about trying, about two broken souls deciding that together they were worth fighting for. "Okay," Garrett said, wrapping his arms around Atlas. "Okay, buddy, we'll figure it out. Together." Atlas's tail wagged, and for the first time in 879 days, the dog who'd stopped believing in rescue let himself hope, because the man who'd stopped believing in himself had finally found a reason to try. Day 20. 3 days left. Garrett Webb sat in Kennel 47 with $437 in his bank account and a dog who taught him how to hope again, and absolutely no idea how to save him. Ruth found him there at closing time, his forehead pressed against Atlas's, both of them breathing in sync. "Garrett," she said softly, "we need to talk." He knew that tone. It was the same one the army chaplain had used, the same one Jennifer had used before she left, the voice people use when they're about to take something away from you. "Don't," Garrett whispered. "Please don't. The county inspector is coming Monday morning. I've delayed as long as I can." Ruth's voice cracked. "If Atlas isn't adopted by then, I have a job. I start Monday. I found an apartment. But you don't have the money yet." "I will." Garrett's hands were shaking again, but he didn't let go of Atlas. "I just need more time." "There is no more time." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Atlas whined, a sound Garrett had never heard from him before. Low, mournful, like the dog understood that the man who'd shown up every single day for 3 weeks was about to fail him. "No," Garrett said firmly, looking into those amber eyes. "No, buddy, I'm not giving up. I'm not leaving you." He pulled out his phone with trembling fingers and did something he'd sworn he'd never do. He called Jennifer. "Garrett," she answered on the second ring, concern immediate in her voice. "What's wrong?" "I need to borrow money." The words tasted like ash. $1,500. "I'll pay you back. I swear I'll pay you back, but I need it by Monday and I—" "Garrett, slow down. He's going to die, Jen." His voice broke completely. "Atlas, the dog Emma met. They're going to put him down on Monday if I can't come up with the adoption fee and the apartment deposit. And I can't let that happen. I can't. He's the only thing that's made me want to wake up in 4 years. And I know I have no right to ask you for anything after everything I put you through, but please." Silence on the other end. Long enough that Garrett thought she'd hung up. Then, "I'll transfer tonight." Garrett's breath left him in a rush. "Jen." "Not for you," she said quietly. "For Emma, because she came home from that shelter and smiled for the first time in months. And for Atlas, because any creature that can make you sound like yourself again deserves a chance." "Thank you," Garrett whispered. "Thank you. Save him, Garrett. And maybe save yourself while you're at it." Monday morning, day 21. Garrett arrived at the shelter at dawn with a cashier's check, a signed lease, and a heart that felt like it might explode from his chest. Ruth was waiting with the adoption papers. Her eyes were red. "I didn't think you'd make it," she admitted. "Neither did I." The paperwork took 15 minutes. Each signature felt like a promise. To show up, to try, to be worthy of the trust Atlas had placed in him. When Ruth handed him the leash, her hand lingered on his. "Take care of each other. We will." Kennel 47 was empty when they walked back. Atlas was sitting at the gate like he'd been waiting for 3 weeks, 879 days, a lifetime. Garrett opened the gate. "Hey, buddy, ready to go home?" Atlas stood, walked forward, and for the first time since the day he'd been abandoned on Highway 91, the dog's tail wagged with something that looked like joy. Garrett clipped the leash to Atlas's collar with shaking hands. "We're going to figure this out together, okay? I don't have all the answers. I'm still broken in a lot of ways, but I'm going to show up for you every single day. I promise." Atlas leaned against his leg, solid and warm and real. They walked out of the shelter together, a man who'd forgotten how to hope and a dog who'd stopped believing in rescue, both of them stepping into sunlight that felt like a second chance. In the parking lot, Emma was waiting with Jennifer. When she saw them, she ran forward and dropped to her knees, wrapping her arms around Atlas's neck. "You did it, Dad," she said, tears streaming down her face. "You saved him." Garrett looked at his daughter, at his ex-wife's soft smile, at the dog who taught him that broken things could still be worth fighting for. "No, baby," he said quietly, his hand resting on Atlas's head. "He saved me." Atlas looked up at Garrett with those amber eyes, no longer empty, no longer hopeless. And in that moment, two souls who'd been lost found their way home. Together. If this story touched your heart, like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs hope. What moment moved you most? Have you experienced a rescue dog's healing power? Drop a comment below. Want more? Click now to see the Prison Break story.